Hey folks, I want to go ahead and show you the dummy publication that has 24 pages ready to go for publication. You'll see here in my pages link, I can view all 24 pages, and that shows us that we have a cover that still needs to be done. We have a table of contents, letter from the editor, and it's very likely that we will use templates for these every issue, but we still need someone to make sure that they get completed. So what I want to show you today is how to make a very quick art layout when you feel like you have pages to fill or you want to do submissions. And what I'm going to show you here is how to make this slight drop shadow so it looks like these pictures are popping out. So let's go ahead and see how to do that. So I'm going to just open up a separate document just for fun to remind you of a couple of other things. When I get to this units of measurement, I want to make sure that I'm in inches, and I want to make sure that my page is 8.75 by 10.25. I'm just going to open up 2 pages, and you want to make sure that your bleed is uniform, and that's 0.125 inches all the way around so that your master looks like this. In your pages panel, you'll see that these 2 pages are separate. If you want to work like one big page, you're going to click allow document pages to shuffle, and you should be able to put the 2 pages together. Okay, it just took an extra click or 2. So I have my double page spread, and if I'm working on 2 pages like this, I want you to consider it like one big page, keeping in mind the gutter space. So for example here, we want to fill this page with some student submissions. So I'm going ahead and I've got art that I've selected from the photography class, okay? And you see there's 94 items and a lot of them are doubles. So I'm going to go ahead and select a bunch here. I'm going to avoid people's faces for now, just for sake of the demo, since this will be on video. And I'm going to avoid the logo assignment that they were asked to do. And this is, again, really just to show you how to make a grid very, very quickly. So once you select your images, and I notice I have not kept track of how many I've loaded, I'm going to go ahead and click open, and it will tell me, okay, I've selected 9 images. So I probably should have been paying more attention and selected multiples so that when I hold Shift and Command, my cursor becomes a grid. I'm going to stay within my margins, and I'm going to drag this grid across the width of both pages. And you'll see that pulled out 9 squares for me. So if I go ahead and keep my mouse engaged and I let go of Shift and Command, I can use the arrows to add twice as many columns and rows. So I'm going to go ahead and right arrow to add, that's 4 columns, 5 columns, 6 columns, and 6 times 3 is 18, which works with what I had arranged with my 19 photos. So I'll have 1 left over, which will give me a chance to swap stuff out. So if I release it, you'll see that it loaded all of the pictures in. Okay, now while they're all selected, I can go ahead and do some mass edits, which is add a really tiny black stroke. I don't even want it to be 1 full point. I want it to be 0.5 or 0.25 if it'll let me. And that's a really tiny stroke. So if I press preview now, you can see that I have tiny areas around each of these Instagram type posts. Now you'll see too, I put in a double here. So I'm going to go back and replace, and I'm going to look for the one that says Sequoia Photography, which I think is this. Yep, this is the one that kind of announces their class and the project. You'll see that when I went to place it, I hit the space bar to have it jump out and show me a preview. So I'm going to go ahead and open, and then it jumped in there. Now for fun, I actually think that this one would be better maybe off-centered or maybe over here, because I'm looking at this page as a whole. And so I might rotate this one just to make it look a little bit different. Okay, so that way it's sort of saying like, hey, look at us, we're digital photography. Now you'll see these frames are not the same size as the picture, right? The pictures are actually Instagram type size that are squares with the extra tag down here to make it look like a Polaroid. So I want to make all of my frames match the actual content. So I'm going to select all. I'm going to say object, fit frame to content, and that took the strokes that I already applied and it went ahead and edited it all together. Okay, so now we want to make it look like it has a little pop out. This is an example of tricking the system to do something that we could have it do automatically. So if I select everything and I come up here to this square where it lets me add a drop shadow, I get a uniform drop shadow, which is fine, but anyone can do that, and we want to take our magazine to the next level. So I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to go ahead and make one example of a drop shadow. So now I'm going to deselect, and I'm going to work on just this first one right here for photography class. Using my rectangle tool, I'm going to make a rectangle that's slightly bigger than this picture, and I'm going to fill it with 50% gray. So I go ahead and I fill it with black. I bring that tint down to 50%, or I'm going to go even lighter. I'm going to say 30%. And it gives me a really nice light gray. I'm going to go over to the effects options, and I'm going to give it a basic feather. And you can see that feathers out quite nicely. I'm going to make it feather a little bit more. And then I'm going to add this choke, which basically just tells you how clear your edge is. Okay, so I'm now realizing that I want to make my box a little tiny bit bigger. Okay, and now I want to send that to the back. So I'm going to go Shift Command left bracket to send to the back. And when I want to bring it back to the front, I can say Shift Command right bracket. So that's a quick way to toggle. Now this doesn't look like anything special. So what I need to do is I need to edit the shape of this shadow so that it looks like it's allowing the pages to bend. So using my pen tool, I'm going to go ahead and add an anchor point right here, right here, right here. Okay, so I'm adding these anchor points, and what happens is the anchor points then allow you to bend this frame using the direct selection tool, which we have not used. Oh, that one actually worked perfectly the first time. I want the corners just to stick out so that I'm not seeing the entire shadow. And then, even though it's really subtle, let's see, a tiny bit more, it gives it a tiny look like the picture is bending. Okay, that looks crazy, but right when I press escape to go back to my arrow tool and I press W, now I've created this look like they're bending up a little bit, which makes it a lot more interesting to look at. This might be an example of getting rid of the stroke as well, so let's just see what that looks like. Now it really looks like paper is bending off the page. So because, again, as I imagine you are too, I am not 100% happy with this. I continue to fiddle with it, but you don't need to watch me do that on the tutorial. So go ahead and check back to see what's become of the whole page in a minute, and I'm going to pause my video. Okay, even after doing this 100 times, I'm realizing one thing that I maybe prefer and didn't realize at the time is that I want that box that I created to have rounded edges. So I'm going to go up to my corner options, which is right here. It doesn't look like much, but I'm going to change it to rounded, and it very subtly allowed me to change the edge of that corner. So now when I press preview, you see, oh yeah, it really looks like the shadow is making it so the picture is curling up off the page. Okay, so rather than do that 100 times, I'm going to select just that shape, and I'm going to use Alt with my arrow, and you'll see that I get a duplication option, so I can click it and drag it, and then I can place this under every single picture, and it'll make them look like they are just popping off the page. So I'm going to leave one row done so you can see how it compares. And again, that's a really subtle difference. You see this is very simple, right? Looks like they're just flat, and these look like they're curling up. So again, it's just an example of how we take our magazine to the next level by doing effects that take a little bit more time to work with. And so once I do this one, I would match my rotation from this picture right here. So that is, it tells me it's 12.5. So I'm just going to make sure that that is 12.5. I was very close. And I press enter, and then I'm going to line it up. I press preview, and then